Dick, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Welcome to the archive. So let's get started with when you were born.
I was born December 23rd, 1935, in Exeter.
All right.
Been here all my life.
Been here all your life.
Yes.
All right. So what were some of your earliest memories?
Some of my earliest memories
Yeah.
was living on Water Street. That's where we lived when we were kids. We lived in 3 different locations on Water Street. And Water Street was actually, at that time, a good place to live. We used the parkway for a playground because we lived right around it.
Mm-hmm. What were some of the games that kids played back then?
Well, in that days, we were killing a lot of enemies of the country in the woods. And cowboys and hide and seek and things like that. You know, we just had a real great time. It was a good time, a good time. Even though, in spite of the fact that we were involved in a war, we still had a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, were there a lot of, did people have a lot of signs out, posters during the war, like you should look out for airplanes or?
Yes, yeah.
There were, okay.
Yeah. In fact, my father was a Coast Guard reservist, was on duty every night from Portsmouth to Seabrook. They walked guard duty. So.
Did someone ever take anywhere or show you anything at any time?
I'm sorry, didn't you?
Did anyone show, like, here's a poster, or did anyone take you on guard duty at any time?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
I remember a story. Someone told me that he got brought up into one of the towers of a building that burned to the ground here in town.
Really?
And, yeah. Someone was showing him, hey, here are all the posters of the Axis airplanes and...
Well, we mostly, during the war, had those in our home.
In your home?
You were supposed to be able to, and it was mostly European type. I mean, the West Coast worried about Japanese, but we were, you know, we could identify planes that were in that category of German or whoever else. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we had that. And every lights were out at 8 o'clock. You looked up in the sky, looking to see if they were coming.
Yeah. So, were there a lot of movies about the war effort?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. A lot of movie actors did it before they left, or even after they left to be in the military, because a lot of them were in the military. Yes, war bonds in particular is what they were. And rationing. That was another big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, when you say rationing, did you send rations to the troops?
No. They had ration stamps and cards for gasoline, butter, all dairy products, shoes. You had to have so many points before you could buy any of those products. And when you went to buy it, you got only limited things. And you could have to use one of those little coupons to get it, you know.
Yeah.
But everybody adjusted. We knew what it was. Mm-hmm. And a lot of stuff we had no butter, of course, later on. And they used to issue a package of this white grease, and it had a red button in it. You pressed the red button, and then you mixed it all up by and you made believe it was butter. And that's what we ate a lot of.
She ate a lot of. Okay. Did people ever come to town to talk to you about the war effort? Were there any soldiers or anybody?
No. Usually, what I can recall the most is friends, neighbors, community people leaving, but never seeing them again until after the war was over.
Okay.
So I don't know if they, at that particular time, if they never came home or what.
Okay.
But I don't remember them. I remember when they all came home. But
Did you guys hold a parade or?
They had parades, but most of all, the trains were running then. And every time we'd hear about some friend, because they would all be older friends, we'd hear about them coming home, we'd run up to meet the train. And do you know that most of the times we didn't know them? Because you got to figure that 3 or 4 years had gone by, they'd been through war, they'd grown up. We were still kids, and we didn't even know who they were. They'd get off the train, walk right by us, because they didn't know us either, because we had grown. When they left, we were little bitty kids. But it used to be so funny. And we'd get down to their house. No, we didn't see him. Here I am. And he'd come out. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. Okay. So what was going on when people started coming back? Did people just try to integrate? Were people celebrating? Was there suddenly like a military presence in town?
You did notice that there was, but it's most of the time, as soon as they get home, it wasn't a noticeable military presence. It was a noticeable influx of people who are now in their mid-20s or early 30s. All these guys would be back. Oh, look who's here. Look who's here. In fact, in my own family, I had uncles and aunts that came home that we hadn't seen for a long time. But that would be the big difference. And then there was a big influx, if you want to call it, of weddings. Because some of these girls had waited so long for their men to come home. Most of them were high school sweethearts, a lot of them were. And when the guys came home, they got married, and then the town began to grow.
Yeah. Was it normal to get married to your high school sweetheart at that time?
Yeah, a lot of people.
You would have met somebody in high school, and that's who you would have ended up marrying?
Yeah, I didn't, but a lot of them would have.
Okay.
A little would have. The one that you said you enjoyed the interview with Chick, his wife was a high school sweetheart. He was in during the Korean, but she was one of those that waited. Yeah, they were nice.
All right. Okay, so during this time, you're growing up as a kid. Were there any activities or groups or anything that you were involved with? Or?
Most of them at that time were put on by the police department. There was no YMC or anything like that. So the police department had boys and girls clubs. And at that time, boys and girls didn't meet together in the same club. We had to do it separately. But
was that with things in general? They kept boys and girls separated?
It was still separated at that time.
Okay, and that was throughout all of your youth? Boys and girls would have been separated?
Yeah.
Okay.
For those kinds of activities. When I went to school, I went to Catholic school. I went to Catholic school with girls. But then when I got out of elementary and junior high, we went to the old high school over here, and that was separate for boys only. That was a shock. What?
What?
And then that's when I really noticed that, gee, there's a lot of separate activities now. So.
Okay. And so was this like sports and activity group?
Practice. Everything like that.
Okay.
They didn't want you over to the old seminary making any noise when they played sports over there or anything. They wanted you to...
So sports games were pretty quiet with the audience?
Pretty quiet. The girls could come over here to high school sports, but we couldn't go over there. Nothing.
Nothing like that?
No.
Okay. So what were the kind of sports that kids played back then?
Mostly baseball. Baseball was a big... Baseball, basketball, football, track. No soccer, lacrosse, what they play now. Nothing like that.
Nothing like that?
No.
Did you even hear anybody even talk about that during that time?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
Never heard of it.
When was the first time you heard about any of these sports?
When they started playing it at the high schools around here.
Okay. And that was when? Do you remember?
Let's see, I get out. Probably in the 60s, I would say.
In the 60s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say so, yeah.
So in the 60s. Okay. So still talking about the 40s.
Oh, yeah.
So the late 40s, I only know that from a media standpoint. I know that was... there were a lot of noir films coming out at that time. Did they play those here in town? Did you enjoy seeing those? Yeah.
Sat 2 rows back and cheered, yay! Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How much was it? How much was a ticket back then? A movie ticket?
When I first started going to movies, it was 10 cents,
Mm-hmm.
15 cents, and then I think after the war it was 25 cents.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you typically go to the movie theater?
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon. Go there at noontime. Stand in line. 'Cause they had a lot of people go to the movies then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they just play the movie, or did they do anything?
Oh no, they had funnies and the movie and coming attractions and trailers for other movies and what else did they have? Well, they had all kinds of advertising, but it would usually be 2 movies anyway. It'd be a feature, then usually a comedy.
Mm-hmm. So
it was worth the 25 cents.
Yeah.
We go to spend the rest of the day.
All right. So what was popular at that time? Like the funnies that were popular?
Tweety Bird,
Uh-huh.
Fritz the Cat, Donald Duck,
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Mouse and Minnie.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they were still new characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know who it was. Came back from the war. Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, he was a war hero, and he came back. Oh, geez, now you're bringing up a lot of stuff. Wow.
Yeah. Mighty Mouse, the war hero.
The war hero, yeah.
All right. So at the movie theater, do they sell like popcorn or candy or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was very, very popular. In fact, they used to have the intermission, and the thing would come on the screen, a little song about popcorn and candies now in the lobby. You only had to have a nickel to spend then, though, buy a box of popcorn for a nickel.
Yeah.
But
Did they sell Coke too at the theater?
no,
Coca-Cola? No.
no, it was mostly water and the drinks that they made, and they had big dispensers then. You had to buy them by the cup, No Coca-Cola or anything.
No Coca-Cola or anything.
No.
Just a dispenser. What were popular drinks for kids to go get?
Lemonade, mostly.
Lemonade.
Lemonade.
That was the big deal.
Yeah, but you could get it colored.
Uh-huh.
You go get a thing of lemonade, and they just put a squirt of whatever the color happened to be that day.
So I watched this documentary called The March of Time, and it has one episode on New Hampshire, and a part of it is about Exeter. And they said downtown at the time there used to be a drugstore, and there were beverages called College Ice. Wait, was that something that all the kids liked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was a College Ice?
Wasn't it just like the chipped ice?
Just chipped ice?
Yeah. And they colored it, that's all.
That was it?
That was it.
So it's kind of like a snow cone.
Yeah, like a snow cone. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so it was like a snow cone. Okay. So the College Ice was a snow cone.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. What was your favorite flavor?
Grape.
Grape.
Dark one. Yeah.
Dark grape. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what used to be in the downtown during that time period? Or what used to be in Exeter? Like, was there a tailor? Was there a grocery store?
There was a grocery store, called the Exeter Food Market. We always called it Jaime's because
Jaime's?
that was the name of the man. The Londons had stores down there, Moore and Seeker's Shoe, Thompson's Drug, Polish Market, Italian Market, all kinds of. And of course the Ioka was there.
Okay.
Across from that was Kurtz's restaurant. There was a bakery up on the other end. And variety store. There was a lot of stuff downtown.
Yeah.
It looks nothing like it did. There's nothing down there like it at all. Nothing.
So what was that, like the Italian market and the Polish market?
They specialize, because we had a big, especially up on that end of town, up where the Ioka was, there was a big Polish, people, a lot of Polish people lived down on Franklin River South, all down that way. A lot of them. And the two men that ran the market were Polish. And then the Italian market was down on, that was a little off downtown. It was on Court Street. And they specialized in Italian, but they also had a regular market, that you could buy things in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't Polish, you had to go there for kibasa or something like that. Some kind of Polish food. So.
Okay. So Polish food was really popular.
Really, yeah.
And so was Italian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So were the owners of those stores immigrants? Were there a lot of immigrants here?
Most of them were second generation.
Second generation.
If you went in there to talk to the mother and father,
Yeah.
It was difficult because they didn't speak very much English.
Okay.
But they were very nice people, very nice.
Do you remember Ben's photos, Ben Swazinski?
Oh, yeah, but that came after the Second World War, because Ben was I don't want to embarrass his family. I said Ben was a hero in the Second World War.
Yeah.
He flew the hump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They called him the Heinzman because that's how many times.
Yeah.
Number on the Heinz ketchup is the
Yeah.
amount of times he
Yeah.
did some kind of big run. So
Yeah.
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 And,
Oh, they were good people.
Yep.
Nice big family. They were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved them.
Yeah. And George DeFord told me this story when he told his mom Ben said he would fly around twice to let her it was him when he was taking off. And the second time he did it, so he was in Catholic school, the nuns run into the room when he flies by the second time, or when he's coming around for the second time. The nun ran in and told the class, "Everybody get on your knees and pray, the pilot is in trouble."
Who told you that, Georgie Dupo?
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to watch the planes.
Yeah.
Run to the windows.
Was that a big excitement?
Yeah.
Did you guys know all the plane types?
Yeah, at that time, you were supposed to know them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there was. So were people making their own businesses? Were there more things coming into town after the Second World War, when people started coming back and the population was increasing?
It stayed pretty much. The businesses and stuff stayed pretty much the same, but you had another generation or so coming in to run the businesses. And unfortunately, a lot of those people did it because they had nothing else to do. So the father had a business, or the family had a business. But as soon as the novelty ran off, most of them went either back to college or worked for the government. A lot of veterans worked for the government. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there wasn't much new established. No.
Was college popular before World War II? No, it was after World War II when college started becoming popular.
And they were offered,
They were offered.
benefits that At that time, they'd be foolish not to take advantage of. That and government jobs. The post office was running 7 days a week, twice a day, and so they put on a lot of veterans. Businesses like that. Navy Yard was hiring again because there was a premonition that wasn't the world war to end all wars. No, nobody ever thought of that, really. So they were very busy.
Yeah. So, going into the 50s a little bit, a lot of people think of that as car culture. It was a big, fancy car time. Did that actually happen here in Exeter?
Yeah.
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 Did like a lot of gas stations suddenly show up? Or?
A lot of gas stations, a lot of car dealers, a lot of fancy cars. Wow. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had an old 47 Ford.
You had a 47 Ford.
It ran on prayer more than anything. Oh, it was a junk.
It was junk.
Yeah.
Did you spend, was it kind of like a job keeping that maintained?
Yeah, but fortunately, my mother and father didn't have a license, and I used to take them everywhere, so my father helped with the upkeep of it, so it wasn't that tough.
Yeah.
But it was hard in the 50s to think that you were going to go to high school when you were 16, didn't have a car. And my brother and I both had cars that we paid for mostly by ourselves, but, it was junk. A lot of it was junk, but then all of a sudden all the slick fins and all that stuff begins, cars shaped like that. Wow. Two-tone, never heard of that. It was either in black or gray or blue. That's all it was.
That's all there was. Yeah.
But you skipped Water Street, and I wanted to tell you that my first job was on Water Street.
Okay, so what
I
happened?
shined shoes when I was about 10 years old on Water Street.
Okay.
And that was through the efforts of a Second World veteran. He asked me if I would do his shoe shine stand, and I did. And then I went on the street also. Make about $1 a day.
$1 a day?
I thought I was rich.
So what would be that in today's money?
Oh, shoe shine boy. I would say you were probably making about $20 a day, $25 a day.
Okay. So $25 a day.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Used to be fun, though.
Yeah.
All the old timers done.
Shining shoes.
Shining their shoes. And everybody knew you.
Yeah.
Dickie, I need a shoe shine. Get over here, Dickie. Oh, yeah. And another thing about downtown was, and we skipped over it, I'm sorry to do this to you.
No worries.
But when we always lived on Water Street, and we lived on the other end of Water Street, down by the park. My father was a liner type operator and typesetter for the old newsletter, which was in that corner, like on, what is that called? Center Street and Water Street, that building right there. And his machine was right here. So if you, mostly my older brother and myself, because the others were little, if we did something that was questionable or not right, we'd get home at 5 o'clock at night when my father got home, and he'd say, "You're not supposed to be doing whatever we did wrong." Well, how did you know? Somebody came and told me. It was right on Water Street. Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, skipping to the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody knew each other.
Yes, yeah, everybody.
Everybody.
Had
So you knew the police, you knew the fire, you know the
everybody.
mailmen, you know.
Yeah. My father was a fireman, so we were involved in a lot of fireman picnics and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody ever held something like a picnic or with like the whole town or more people be showing up?
Used to have cookouts at the Green Gate. Do you know where that is? Out on Court Street?
Out on Court Street, yeah.
It's a camping, I don't know if it still is or not, but they used to have a big function area out there too. And then they would have them at the Parkway, even that many years ago. They had things down there. Well, it seemed to be another place. I think it was right next to the old fire department on Court Street. They'd have cookouts there too.
Cookouts there too. Okay.
Yeah, it was nice, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So there were little cookouts. There were picnics. Picnics were a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, bring your own.
Bring your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you always bring your own? Like even going to school, did you have to bring your own lunch?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Right over there is where I went to school. That brick building right there was only right up the street here. Was only half the size of it is now because the high school is up there.
Yeah.
Well, the old high school was just that one side of that building, and they had no facilities for kitchen or anything like that. No, we brought our own lunch.
So did you like wrap it in paper or have a lunchbox or something?
Brown paper bag,
Brown
mostly,
paper.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal at lunchtime because we ate in the main dining hall. It was a big deal to swap sandwiches. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So somebody got a meat they didn't want, they could trade it with someone else. Here.
Well, I love tuna fish sandwiches, and my friend over on Park Street, he liked meat sandwiches. So his mother would make him a tuna fish sandwich, and he'd give it to me, and I'd give him the meat sandwich. And we'd do things like that, you know.
All right. Interesting. Yeah.
It is. It's crazy, really.
It's crazy. Really. Yeah, you did that back then. Didn't even think twice about it.
No, not at all.
Not even.
No.
All right. Did you guys ever go fishing on the river? Did you catch alewives?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
By hand.
By hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you make lunch out of those sometimes?
Fertilizer.
Fertilizer.
Mr. Higgins, we'd get a bucket of alewives, and Mr. Higgins, who had a big garden, would give us a nickel a bucket for them, no matter how many were in it. And then what they do in those days is they chop them up and use them for fertilizer. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd be down in that river all the time. I mean, that river was garbage and sewage, you know, in those days. We didn't have any sewage. It went into that river.
Okay, so people just dumped things into rivers back then.
They still ate stuff out of the river. You walk down there and throw your garbage in there, and the next guy down the road would be fishing while you throw your garbage in there. But alewives, and most of the time, whatever they brought home from that river to eat, my mother wouldn't touch it. She'd say to my father, "You brought it home, you clean it and you eat it, because I'm not going to eat it."
All right. Wow. Okay. So, also speaking about the river, I heard once that when the dam was there, it used to flood a lot. Did that happen?
Above the dam.
Above the dam.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
so where used to get flooded every year from the dam?
Where would it?
Where? Yeah.
It start at the dam, go right down Franklin Street, up this way towards the academy. All that land. Those people that lived on the end right near the river on Franklin Street would have to evacuate and come. And Court Street, because that river circled right around to Court Street. We never did on the bottom half because that was tide water, fresh and salt water, but it was mostly tide water. So the water may come up to Water Street, but it never went over to our house or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but it would be interesting to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a seasonal activity. Sit around and watch the flood.
They wouldn't let us go out at that time because they didn't know how flooded it would be or how high the tide would be. So we had to stay pretty close. Yeah.
Would fish get washed up on the shore or something?
Oh yeah.
A lot.
A lot of eels. Still can't look at an eel.
Creepy little creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had the two kind. They had the regular eels, and then they had, can't remember what they used to have. They were bigger, and they had the little, like prehistoric animals. They had the little sucker things on the bottom of them. You ever seen them?
Those are the lamprey, yeah.
That's what it is, the lamprey eel.
Yeah, called vampire eels.
Empire,
Yeah,
vampire.
because of the way they bite. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But we'd pick them up and throw them. Oh, gee.
Okay. All right. So, kind of late 50s, I've always heard was when rock and roll was picking up, and teenager-focused movies.
I don't know.
You don't? That didn't.
I left in 53. I didn't get back until the middle of 57.
So what did you leave? So what did you leave town for?
I went in the military.
Okay. So, did you have to go to the Korean War? Or?
No, I was in during the Korean War. But I didn't go to Korea.
Okay. So, what was... So what did you do when you got sent out into
What I did in the military?
Yeah. You don't need to answer classified.
Moved around.
Just move around.
I was in security for the atomic energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's it.
All right, so when did you get back?
The middle of 57.
Middle of 57.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You'd be surprised at how many atomic energy places there were in this country.
So some people say there were dozens of atomic tests we'll never hear about.
You never will.
Yeah. There's
Storage you'll never hear about
yeah.
either. I believe it's all gone now anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a woman I met who said when she lived out in the Utah area, they had people called downwinders because of the downwind of all the stuff that people were testing out in these deserts, and unaware that it would have a downwind and affect people.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nevada was a big one. Alamogordo, New Mexico, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were all over the place at one time.
Did you get sent out to certain parts of the country, or?
Certain parts of the country, but those are restricted areas.
Yeah.
My job was more on the fringe. So.
Okay. Did they give you the chance to explore around in any of the places you got shipped out to? No. It was just boring and on the base?
Sometimes we didn't have a base.
Sometimes you didn't have a base?
No.
Okay. So what was going on here in Exeter when you got back?
I was very lonely because
Very lonely.
everybody was grown up and gone. Yeah, so many of them had already graduated from college. They'd gotten married. And they didn't want to hang around with the guy that wanted to go to the American Legion Club, you know. No.
What was the American Legion Club like when you got back?
Very active.
Very active.
Because it still had a lot of Second World War veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was considered a Korean conflict veteran, although I hadn't been to Korea, but I was there. The Korean veterans were there then too, that had already come home.
Okay.
It was very active. Very active.
What were some of the things that they did?
They had dances, and they had country night, and they had lobster feeds and game nights, everything. It was really very active. A lot of live bands. Almost every Saturday night they had a special of some kind, like country or soft rock. Mm-hmm. We didn't do any hard rock.
Yeah.
But,
All right.
Long time.
Yeah. That sounds like that would have actually been a lot of fun.
Fun. It really was.
Yeah.
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 So.
Was it just for people that were a part of the Legion?
No. You could bring guests or allow guests to come in.
Okay.
But you were responsible for that guest. I mean, if you brought somebody in and he got pretty well drunk and started trouble, then you had to go with him.
Yeah. Okay. Was Exeter a dry community?
No.
No. There was a lot of alcohol that went around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Actually, speaking about drugs, the '60s. That didn't really happen here. There were no.
Oh, I believe it did.
Okay.
But I didn't have anything to do with it. No, don't think I knew very many people that did.
Okay.
I think myself, thinking back, that in those times between 50 and 70, it was more alcohol.
There's more alcohol.
And I think there was more alcoholism then than you ever saw in drugs of any type.
Yeah.
The drugs came later.
Okay. I heard that actually at one point in the 50s, just about if you went into an office building, there would probably be alcohol somewhere and everybody would have an ashtray.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, smoking was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So people would just be cranking out cigarettes and there'd be alcohol throughout the office.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Take a look at the movies. If you go back to the black and white in the 50s,
Yeah.
everybody in the movies smoked.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that many people smoked.
Yeah. So okay. Now is smoking an adult thing, or did kids smoke as well?
Kids smoked as well.
Okay. How young?
For me,
Or just
12.
12. So as young as 12 years old. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Lucky strikes.
Lucky strike.
Yay!
Hey. Those are the most popular.
Yeah.
Was it normal to get a package of cigarettes, or did you get your own tobacco and roll?
No, a package.
A package.
And at that time, you had to get somebody to buy them for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had to be 18 or older to buy them?
Mm-hmm.
Or, I actually heard one story where somebody told me in the 60s, somebody gave him money to go to the store and get cigarettes at the grocery store, the convenience store, for his parents, and they trusted you with it, and they knew how much change you'd be coming back with.
Yeah.
That would happen too.
Oh, yeah. My mother was a smoker. Lucky strikes.
Yeah.
And we'd think we were fooling her because we'd go in and take it back.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
She knew.
Who's smoking these cigarettes? I don't know. Well, it smells like you. Because my brothers didn't smoke, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. And so in the 60s, there was a lot of civil rights happening across the country. Was there anything happening here at that time?
I don't think so. I think they tried to make some kind of a, both pro and anti, both tried to make some kind of appearance and influx into town here. But it didn't work. There wasn't that much
Going on.
I mean, this was almost pure white. You know, in Exeter, when I went in the military was when I was shocked, because I was young and naive. I probably, in my whole life before I went in the military, I only saw 2 black people in my whole life.
Mm-hmm. And then suddenly you're seeing
and all of a sudden I'm looking at, I didn't know that many people were black. And Indian, when I was down in Arkansas and Oklahoma. And they were still segregated too.
Yeah. So Native American or from India?
Native American.
Okay.
You wouldn't find that now because it's nothing like that. But when we had our training barracks, there would be white here, black here, and Native American over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the military, did they have segregated drinking fountains and bathrooms?
Only if it went off post.
Only if it was off post.
Yeah, because it had already been declared unlawful to segregate then, although it was still being done.
Yeah.
So you couldn't put up whites only fountains. But if you went off post,
it was a different story.
Different story altogether. That was my first experience with that type of thing because I had no idea. And I was friendly with, before we got our first pass, with a young black boy that was the same age as me, and everything was in common. And when we went on the bus, and he came from somewhere up north too, where there was no segregation, and when we came off, started to go off the post, we were sitting together, and the MP came in and said, "You know better than that." I thought he was talking to me. I thought I'd done something wrong. I said, "What?" He said, "You shut up and sit there. I'm talking to over there." And I looked at him. Kid said, "No, I know where I belong." And he had to go sit out in the back and left me in the front. But he never was friendly with me again. Never friendly. Yeah.
So, so you saw. Did you ever did you see any of the women's civil rights movement?
No.
None of that.
No.
Did you ever encounter hippies at all?
Hippies?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in California, that was my first experience with them too. And I thought, what is that? Who are those people?
Yeah, people with long hair and long beards.
Oh, and the long hair and long beards wasn't the worst of it. Some of them wore paint on and all made up and wearing clothes that you would throw to the dump. Yeah, but it was a way of life. It was nobody paid any attention to
Nobody
it.
paid attention to it.
No.
Did you ever hear of like Woodstock or any of those big musical or artistic movements? Okay. Yeah. What was it like hearing about Woodstock?
What the heck is the matter with those people? I wasn't a hippie fan.
Okay, you were not a hippie fan.
No, even though we had them in the family, I was not a fan of their movement and their types of protest and things like that. And nobody has to be dressed and nobody has to pay attention to any rules. No, I just ignored it. I said, they're not my type of people, thank you.
Okay. So in the 60s as well, so there's the space race.
Exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like watching? Did you see the moon landing?
Mm-hmm.
You watched that? What was that like?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody moved while it was going on. You just stayed and because we had the little televisions and stayed and watched it.
How big was it? Like a
12 inches.
See this 12-inch TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, our biggest thrill was to know that Alan Shepard, was the first astronaut. He came from New Hampshire, came from Derry.
Yeah.
And that's just like we lived in Derry. We didn't live anywhere near Derry, but it was a New Hampshire boy.
Did you ever meet him at any point? Or?
No.
Okay, so did you hear, the moon landing's going to be broadcasted at this time, or did somebody just come up to you and say, like, hey, Dick, there's this?
No. We would get notice, or the radio would say it, or somebody would say it, or something like that. But you know what we had in those days? Mm-hmm. We had naysayers.
Yeah.
That said those were movies.
Yeah.
So that's not true. They didn't go to the moon. They said that for a long time. Yeah. No way.
Did you watch the press release when the astronauts came back?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd watch it all the way through just to hear what they had to say about it. I mean, because we'd never go to the moon. I wanted to hear what they circle the moon or fly in space, and I wanted to hear what they had to say about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, very, very nice.
Yeah.
So, in the late late 60s, early 70s, what went on with you after? So the space race is over, and
well, I got married, and what was it? 67, I believe. Yeah. And I joined the Knights of Columbus, and I had my own store downtown at the time, a clothing store. And I just really progressed in my own world, because I'm a people person, so I always was with people. So I was just out and around and everything.
Yeah.
In everything, too.
Yeah. So what got you to join the Knights of Columbus?
Why did I join, did you say?
Yeah.
Well, my father was a longtime member, and I figured it was a strong allegiance with the Catholic Church, which I belong to, and their programs were set up to be religion, charity, community, home, individuality, things like that.
Yeah.
So it appealed to me.
Yeah.
So I joined.
All right.
Been there, almost 60 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's a good commitment.
That's why he kids with me, because they call me the director. I've seen more Grand Nights go through, but my title is membership director.
Membership.
So I have a finger in just about membership and things like that that's going on. So,
All right.
at my age.
So that all those things were really appealing. Did you go for a position, or did you just sign up and become a member?
No, I just signed up to become a member. Yeah. At that time, my father was going through what they call the changes of the chairs, and I was just in the background as a member.
Okay.
But I went through the membership quickly, because there are degrees that you have to go through. So I went through it quickly so that I would be a full-fledged member and participate in everything, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And were you guys here at the time, at the Michael House?
No, at that time we were meeting at the old Winter Street School. Do you know what Winter Street School is? Where the Presbyterian church is now. They bought the building.
Yeah.
Well, that was our hall. We bought that hall. And we fixed it all up, and we had our meetings there until it got too expensive.
Yeah. Did you guys fix it up by hand? Just the members went in and fixed it up themselves?
We did it all ourselves.
Wow.
All ourselves. All the windows, the painting, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was, we were working for the council.
Yeah.
You know, then. It was very, very active. We would have 25 to 50 people over there a night to work. So it wasn't bad.
So you had a clothing store, and you sell clothes from, I don't know, not 9 to 5 or what hours?
Yeah. You know where St. Anthony's?
Yeah.
Okay. My clothing store was right there.
Okay.
And I worked for the man who started it. The name of it was Chet's. I worked for him for 10 years. And then when he got older and decided to retire, I bought it. My wife and I bought it. And we were there 15 years, I believe it was. Yeah. And then I started my second career, which was selling advertising, in which I was a little over 15 years before I retired. That was the best job. Best job. Go in the morning, say, here I am, pick up job orders or whatever, and take off, and I'll see you at 5 o'clock. Nobody bother me. Do whatever I want.
Yeah. All right. And so you probably spend your weekends and your evenings helping out the Knights of Columbus, or?
I did for a long time,
Yeah.
and then my wife became ill. She was ill for a long, long time, so I didn't do much because I couldn't leave her alone that much. So
Okay.
yeah.
And so how long, from when to when was your wife ill?
My wife died in 2017, and she was ill approximately 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause she had multiple, in those days they went that advanced, multiple cases of cancer. You know.
So.
And every time we think it would be better, she'd come down sick again.
So before your wife got ill, we still have some other a couple other decades. So did anything go on? Did anything big go on here during the rest of the 70s here in town?
Oh, I think during the 70s was when all the big progress started. I mean, the population increased tremendously. Portsmouth Avenue extended. Route 27 extended.
Yeah.
That used to be 101. Downtown got bigger. Building was going on all over the place, all on this end of town, other ends of town. It just, to me, in the 70s, it just seemed to explode. It was just big, getting bigger and bigger. I mean, you got to figure that when I was, let's take an arbitrary figure of 12. There were probably 5,000 or 6,000 people here. I came home from the military 4 years after I got out of the military, which was 57. There were about 12,000 people here. And then, boom, all of a sudden, like in the 70s, it just grew. There's 20,000 people here now. That's a lot of people from 5.
Yeah.
A lot of growth. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was all good growth.
All
There
good.
was nothing that I would say was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were some of the things that people did during the 70s? Were there suddenly more kids' activities, more family activities?
Everything.
And more of everything.
Everything. Because of that growth and because of population growing, because of kid population growing, they had to provide playgrounds and whatever it is, what's it called up there? Exeter Parks and Recreation. And, they had to because there was so many children. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I mean, were there any major events going on that happened here during the 70s besides the population growth?
Now, it seems to me that somewhere in there, I can't remember the date, we had a big celebration of the town of Exeter being founded. I'm pretty sure, yeah. And that was a big celebration. That was about a week long, and then we climaxed it with a large parade. Yeah.
In the 70s, the Vietnam War ended. Did those people come back and everything was... a lot of Vietnam veterans were very quiet about it.
Very, very, very quiet.
Even when they came back here, they're
very quiet.
Okay.
Absolutely refused to join any of the organizations and things like that.
Yeah.
That's when the population of the Legion fell down.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to.
Yeah, they don't want to join. They don't want people to know.
Yeah, because it wasn't exactly what I call a war anyway. But anyway, that's,
Mm-hmm. Did people come back with... were there people from Vietnam coming here to Exeter at all?
That was about 5 years later. They came from Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, all that area.
Yeah.
They wanted to get out of there
Yeah.
because the communists were taking over completely.
Yeah.
They were nice. The biggest problem that they ever had was speaking.
That was it.
They would come here with no idea of
How to talk.
how to speak English. I had some of them live about 3 houses down from me, and they were very, very nice. But
Yeah.
they had no idea. You had to talk sign language and everything else to them. But they didn't fool around when they came here. They educated most of their children.
Yeah.
Because the children that live in that house where their mother and father live now are all college graduates.
Yeah.
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 It was tough for them, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah. So, getting a little bit into the 80s, a lot of people talk about the 80s as this big, very flashy time. Things started to become corporate. Chains started to develop. Cars and clothing started getting a little fancier. There was a huge culture change
Yeah.
that was going on here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at that time, it was easier to bypass Exeter when it was 5,000. But when you get up 15 to 18,000 and kids are going out and then coming back and college and so on, the culture was changed here too.
Yeah.
Very much so, yeah. See, those types of culture, I didn't have to have actually anything to do with them because I didn't have a big family, and I had one stepdaughter, and she was a school teacher, and she had a daughter, my granddaughter, and they were never involved in any of it that I know of, anyway.
Yeah.
Could be, but I don't know.
Yeah. Was some people say that the 80s were a little patriotic somewhat at the time. Was that true?
Were they patriotic?
Yeah, were people more patriotic or very patriotic, like publicly very patriotic during the 80s? Yeah.
I think what happened is that a lot of people were, including myself, disappointed in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people figured they didn't have to be patriotic because they didn't like what was going on. Mm-hmm. But afterwards, when we got into the 80s, people began to realize we have a good country here. Yeah. We have made mistakes, but you better admit that you're American. Yeah. Like you go over my house is covered with flags. Mm-hmm. All kinds of flags. Yeah. My neighbor calls me the United Nations.
Yeah. Did people, even upwards until the 80s, still know each other? Like everybody in the community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a difference. There was a difference also in that a lot of population had changed in that they weren't acceptable as to "Good morning, how are you?" Mm-hmm. It seemed to have disappeared. They didn't. Even right today, I am so surprised because I'm a person that, "Hi, how are you?" Mm-hmm. Nice to see you. How you been? Mm-mm. Saw it at the policeman's thing. Yeah. I saw people, hi, come right over and have a cold drink. Look at me like, are you talking to me? So I make it a point to talk to everybody. Yeah. That's the way I am. I like people. And I work at Jerry's, a couple of days a week. And if I didn't have that, I'd go nuts because I have to talk with people. And everybody comes in, knows me anyway. Yeah. My people I work with say, do you know everybody? I try.
Yeah. Okay. So the Berlin Wall fell. Did you see that happen?
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I had friends in Germany at the time. He said it was spectacular.
What end of Germany did they live in?
I don't know, really. They were military, and I don't remember where they were.
Did you call them after you saw the Berlin Wall?
They called me. Did you see that? I saw it. I said, were you there? Well, I saw it. I don't know how close they were to it, but,
Yeah.
That was our friend.
Yeah. How were people reacting when that happened?
How did what?
How were people reacting when that happened?
Oh, everybody thought it was wonderful because people from here still had relatives in that part of Europe, so they were very happy about it. And so were the Germans.
Yeah. All right. And now the 90s, there's another big, really big culture shift. Prior to your wife getting sick, was there anything going on here?
I don't think so because I was pretty well working with her. Mm-hmm. I took her to work with me every day in the car. Yeah, mm-hmm. I couldn't leave her alone. Yeah, so I took her with me.
Did she enjoy it?
Oh yeah, I had to do a lot of explaining and things because everything began to affect her mind too, so I had to explain a lot of things to her,
Yeah. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah, and so, the last couple of years, have you seen there's some good changes with the Knights of Columbus?
Yeah. Ed explained them to you as much as he could, and it's not only the Knights, it's every fraternal organization in the world is having problems about maintaining I call it maintaining a good face in which you used to do in the past, and mainly because membership is so limited now. It's just hard to get anybody. And you can't blame them because a lot of people are busy now, you know. A lot of people are busy, and it's very expensive for people to live now if you have 2 or 3, 4 children. And to ask them to come out a couple of nights and serve on a committee, and I think if I was a young person just me, I don't think it would appeal to me either. I'd say, no, I don't. That's the favorite excuse is I don't have time. I'd say, what do you mean you don't have time? Staying here talking to me. It takes longer to talk to me than to join the they tell me I'm rough. I say, listen, I was a salesman all my life. If I wasn't rough and pushy, I wouldn't have lasted. They say, oh, you push too much. Well, I get them, don't I? So.
Yeah. All right, Dick. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
there a message you would like to leave for future generations?
God bless America.